Today's guest is the fabulous Nancy Zare, the sales whisperer, where she makes sales conversations simple and profitable for mission-driven professionals. It's totally up my alley right here. And solopreneurs to strive to get more clients without being salesy. Now, she is the creator of the Likability System. She is a certified sales trainer and author of 6 books, including an international Amazon bestseller. Nancy, welcome to the show.
Tracy, my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, let me start by asking you this. My mission is to help entrepreneurs live their legacy life, which is aligning your divine message to your purpose-driven goals so you can reach millions and achieve financial freedom. Tell us a bit about your background and the mission of your business.
Thank you for asking because I think I was born a psychologist, and I think that God placed in me that desire to help others communicate effectively. And I could use it in many different ways, but I've chosen to use it to help people make their businesses profitable. And yes, I'm on a mission to help people communicate authentically and effectively with each other.
Very good. And I know, particularly with women, I mean, they're constantly feeling lack of confidence when it comes to selling. They back off, or they feel like they're being salesy or pushy. As you said, you help them overcome that. Tell us a couple of ways that you teach somebody how to have it not feel lack of authentic.
I appreciate your asking, and especially the fact that although we might look at women as a good example of this, it applies to men too, because I have plenty of male clients who I work with. And it's around the fact that people feel slimy when they are pushing something. And so when you are in that mode of transacting instead of relating, that's where you get that feeling that you're not authentic, that you're not living from your heart, from your aligned values. So the first thing, Tracy, is that you know your values. You need to align your values with your message, and not do marketing and sales tactics because everyone else is doing it, but to do what it is right and resonant for you. So that's the first thing I'm going to suggest. The second thing is, of course, confidence sells. And so, where do you get confidence? You get confidence from believing in yourself, believing in what you offer, and believing in the effectiveness of what you offer, because people are telling you, supporting you with, it's working for me. And there's nothing more gratifying than to see your clients thrive. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I think you said something really important there, that a lot of times people feel like they're selling, but you're not. One, you are being of service in the transformation that you provide. There's a key difference there. And when somebody, as you said, truly understands that it's about the result that they get, and that's what you're excited about. Your excitement, your confidence is that element that says to somebody as they're listening, this person isn't selling me. They're excited about the fact that I can reach this goal that I have.
Yeah, I want to speak to that because you get a sales commission once, but the person you help is benefited for a long time, much longer than the commission or whatever you receive in payment. Keep that in mind. This is not transactional. This is about transformation, about helping people acquire a skill or perhaps a product that's going to benefit them in the long run.
Absolutely. And in my process that we do with the legacy life, we have these 8 pieces to it. And one of the biggest things we talk about as well is we're not selling. It's called apply, qualify, and award. When you realize that you're actually the one that they need to be excited about because you have the solution. It's a question of, now, do you want to work with them? That it's a whole different mind shift and perspective. And when again somebody removes any of the stereotypes that they may have been brought up with, I think it's a super key to move forward with.
Yeah, those stereotypes are alive and well, unfortunately. And I hope that they are dying down. As one of my recent colleagues, Phil Whitebloom, said, he wants to make sales not a connotation, but a denotation. Many of us have inferences when we hear the word that you're a salesperson. Hence, my clients don't even want to identify as doing selling. They would rather go to the marketing professional and see what the issue is as a marketing problem, rather than maybe I need to have effective sales communication. And maybe that's the block why I'm not getting clients. And so, is it a connotation with all the things we don't want? Or is it a denotation that, yes, in order to have a thriving business, I am offering you the opportunity, like you say, I'm rewarding you with the gift of my time, because we know that time is finite. It's a resource that we can't get back.
Absolutely. And I think you brought up an important piece there too about the fact that we are uh, operating on stereotypes, and we're moving away from the responsibility and the ownership of, hey, if I just have a conversation with this person and we're a great match and I can provide the transformation, then that's a done deal, right? It's semantics at that point of, do they have the money or don't they?
Yeah.
When we turn to marketing, which is what everyone is attempting to do now because they want to get away from this, if I just put it over here and I do emails and I do this and I don't have to get involved as much and I automate as much as possible, um, there's a couple things happening there. One is you're moving away from the fact that you literally only need 10 people to build a seven-figure business. If you go to the marketing side of the world, you need thousands because you're going to be
Yeah.
churning and burning through that process, right?
You know, we've heard the expression selling is a numbers game. And what you're alluding to, and that's what a lot of marketing, especially as a low ticket offer, they're trying to get a lot of people, and they're throwing, as they say, spaghetti against the wall, hoping something sticks. At any given time, according to Chet Holmes, only 2 to 3% of people are actively ready to buy and are looking to buy today. Hence, 97% of the population, you need to build that relationship because they're not going to buy today. Well, I think of sales as a numbers game in a different way than you've probably ever heard. And Tracy, I want to share it with your audience. Number your buyers 2, 4, 6, and 8. Now, what do these numbers mean? They mean the number of contacts that you need to provide and they need to receive before they can make a buying decision. So our number two buyer is fast. They need one, maybe two contacts ready to go. They're that low hanging fruit that we all go after. On the other hand, the number eight buyer, they need eight, turn the eight on its side, it's infinity. They need many contacts. This is the person who has to think about it, has to ask questions, has to gather information. They have many contacts before they're ready to make a buying decision. So when you know the number of your buyer, which by the way relates to their personality style, then you're going to know what to say and do to connect quickly and authentically in order to develop that relationship and reward them with your message.
Exactly. I mean, it goes back to that adage we used to follow where it takes 7 to 12 touch points in order to, we'll call it, convert somebody to it. And it's something I think that is important as a relationship build for us not to try and bulldoze our way through those touch points by moving it to automation in some cases, because it's just as quick to make a call some days than it is to pour over the hundreds of emails you've just sent out and wonder what the service and deliverability rate was, and did they open, how many clicked, all of that, I could have made a phone call, right? And to these people that are of the buying parameters, and the right fit client. I think it goes down to that as well, is really taking a look at honing in on who your right fit client is. When you have that clearly identified, you don't have to spend as much time, or nor is it difficult to show them the transformation.
It's a combination, Tracy, of both high touch and high tech. On one hand, the technology is there, and digital marketing is growing and growing in popularity. So clearly, we are posting on, the social media platforms, sending out emails, messaging people. I get automated messages all the time. That's how we're using digital. However, it's the high touch that's really going to make the sale. You cannot pay a high ticket coach. You're not going to pay big bucks without having had some personal connection. Now, how do you get that personal connection? It may be going to a less expensive webinar or presentation. It may be seeing their video content, etc. But at some point, there's going to be a conversation. And are you prepared to talk to your prospect in a way that it connects with them authentically in order to convert them and turn them into a paying client?
Very cool. So when you're working with somebody, what are you using as your metrics or success indicators?
There are many milestones along the way in terms of metrics. And again, I'm going to mention someone else, a flawless follow up. Steve Rosenbaum has a beautiful system in which each part, each time you send out digital materials, you're asking your prospect to take an action step. And if they do take the action step, they go down one track. And if they don't take the action step, they go down another track, so that eventually this is where the milestones come in, Tracy. The first milestone is, did they click on my email when I asked them to respond? And if they did click on the email, did they then write a message or simply, and so that all these little engagements, I'm going to call them, that to me are milestones. And you can obviously collect metrics on each stage, especially if you have a robust CRM or other system. You can collect the metrics so that you know where you are at any given time, because we all have to have a pipeline. We all have to have a funnel in which there are leads, and we don't know whether yet they're even prospects. They're just, suspects at this point. And if they begin to raise their hand and say, yes, this applies to me, and I have this issue, and yeah, this is my pain point. Well, guess what? Now we have a prospect. We want to qualify them to see if they might be a good fit, and eventually line up a new client.
Very cool. And
Yeah.
I'm looking at your part of your branding. So in our case, we have also trademarked a legacy life, right? I see that you have trademarked a likability. Tell us about that.
So I often have to tell people it's like with an A in front of it, because it's not about popularity. It's about your prospect feeling that what you say and do, wow, we're alike. You get me. And there's no better feeling for a prospect to have than that sense of we're alike. When someone's alike, and just think about it for a moment, if you haven't previously thought about the difference between being likable or unlikable, when your prospect says, wow, you get me, they're going to relax and they're going to feel comfortable. And with that comfort, trust builds more readily and more easily. And at the same time, something you may not have thought about, sales resistance, it's always there. Well, the sales resistance drops. And when trust is high and sales resistance is low, that opens the door to doing business together. Hence, the likability system is a skill that will raise the perception, the feeling, the thought within your prospect of, wow, you get me, we're alike.
I love that. It's so simple, and yet um, it is really something that I can see if you follow that. It's human nature based, right? Hey, I like
Perfect.
you. I've relaxed. Now, now I can put my guard down, and we can have conversations where I don't feel like you're pushing me. I don't feel like you're coming at me or trying to sell me something every time we talk.
Right. And let me also insert something that's important. There are three principles behind the likability system. The first is that you ask for permission throughout your conversations or throughout the process. Why do I suggest that as a principle? Because people don't want to be offensive and annoy people. And if your prospect gives you permission to be on the email list or to have the next appointment or whatever it might be, guess what? You're not annoying them. And so that's a great way to ensure that you're not being salesy. The second principle is to speak without a script. You need speaking points. You need to know the process and you need to know where you're going in a sales conversation, but don't memorize what you're going to say because when you do, it comes across robotic and it comes across as salesy. And the third principle is to adjust yourself to the number buyer, 2468, to adjust yourself to match that buying style because each style communicates a little differently.
That's a great perspective as well. So that if somebody is on or having that discussion and realizes they're an 8, when that occurs, they don't feel like a failure because they didn't close them rapidly. And I think that's a great differentiator that you just said there.
Yeah, it's so true. In fact, the number 8 buying style is the style that hates pressure. And if they feel any kind of push at all, they will bolt. And you've probably seen it with people who then just, I mean, they give you the cold shoulder. They're out, they click the phone, whatever, and even though you were the only show in town and they truly needed what you had, they don't want anything to do with you. So you have to exercise a lot of caution with the number 8 buyer. On the other hand, that number 2 buyer, remember the low hanging fruit? They need to be asked today because they don't want to waste time. So knowing the number of your buyer can give you that edge in terms of what am I supposed to say and do? And know that you're not being pushy with the number 2. They want you to say, well, I recommend you go with this because it will do that. And it's like, oh yeah, thank you. Off, off my plate. We've decided.
Exactly. I'm definitely a number 2 buyer. I'm like, okay, what can you do? Okay, great. Let's do that. And then the
That's right.
conversation is
Bottom
just
line,
ended.
results.
Yes.
That's right. And again, and with the number 8, the wrong style. With the number 2, perfect. And with the
Yeah.
number 4 and number 6, again, there are different things you need to do to build rapport, have a relationship, and follow up because they're basing their buying decision on different values. And so when you know the values behind your buyer and you speak that language of values, they're going to you're going to have a likability and they're going to buy from you.
Love it. And, I started my first company in 1985 at the age of 19. I think I've been in business almost 40 years now. And so I've seen every sales strategy and cycle and learned it. And I like the simplicity of really just understanding there's different buyer types. And when you can recognize who you're talking to, you are able to rapidly present or hold off knowing they need that deeper nurture cycle. It's great.
It's great. Well, I'm tipping my hat to you for nearly 39 plus years of being in this business because it's hard. As women, I think it's a little bit more challenging,
Yep.
not only because there's a bias in sales towards men, which is fascinating. About 2 out of every 3 salespeople there are male. So not only is there bias that way, but women have challenges about having a family because usually the burden falls on the woman to raise the children, manage the home, and so forth. So it is hard to be successful. So I'm tipping my hat.
Well, thank you. And it's an interesting point you brought up with the being of a woman. When I was on the World Internet Summit stages, that was a speaker circuit. It was 15 men and myself.
There you
And
go.
in the beginning, I made the error of selling like a man, right? Because I was like, otherwise, no one's going to listen to me. If I can't be aggressive, if I can't get my sales numbers, I'm off this stage. And it was very interesting when the day I realized, oh my goodness, there needs to be a whole different approach to this. And I started to do the what we probably call now today authentic selling. This is who I
Yeah.
am. This is what you need. This is what you'd get. I really, hey, if you need more time, let's talk. And if you don't, I'm here for you now. And it's that change that I made from the stage that actually
Mhm.
made me more successful. And so if you're out there right now struggling, one, make sure you reach out to Nancy to really help you define the system that you can be following so you understand the nuances of the different styles of people that you're dealing with so that you don't overstep because
Yeah.
each person has their own journey.
Right. My mentor, Mary Peckus, in the telemarketing field back in long ago, she's now 86 years young and retired and so forth. But she was started a virtual telemarketing center years ago. Back when, like I said, it was a male model, and she quickly created something called the conversational soft sell
Mm.
system, which has informed what I do today. It's not about pressuring people. It is about being polite, respectful, asking for permission, and shifting what you say to match your prospect.
I love that. And I'm so grateful for the women that came before us that
Yes,
helped pave the path for our journey, for you and I, of course, who are paving the path for the next levels that are coming through now.
that's our legacy.
Yes, that's part of the legacy. It's part of my mission for sure. I'm so grateful to have you on the show today. How can people get in touch with you?
Uh, Clearly, I'm available on LinkedIn, Facebook, and so forth. Nancy Zare. The last name rhymes with care, spelled Z, last letter of the alphabet, Zare. So LinkedIn, Nancy Zare, Facebook, Nancy Zare, and so forth. That's probably the easiest way.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Nancy, for being here. It's been a pleasure to have you on today's show, and I look forward to our audience and myself getting to know you better.
To your sales success.